Dear friends, I'm glad to see you all at Feygin Live. Thursday, 26th of May, it's 9:01 p.m. Glad to see Olexiy. Likewise. Before we start, again, please share the links to this cast. Today we're live at 9. Sorry, our circumstances keep changing day by day, but please send the links to that to especially those living in Russia. That's important. Subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych channel, and to the Privateer station if you are watching that in English. Also, do not forget to leave a like, because otherwise Google does not promote this information in any shape or form. And that's it, let's start. Yesterday cast was rather minor. People were spitting at the screen. I was looking at the chat, there were a lot of upset people, but that's the truth. Perhaps you can give us hope with something? Do we have a task with hope? To give hope? Mark? We kind of work as analgesic here. We are telling the truth, but it does bring some calm to people. Thing is, I never really set my task as to calm people down. My task was always to inform. Let's show the map. Okay, so we got the map from deep state source. So today is a day of useless attempts by Russia to get to Bakhmut-Severodonetsk road. They've been heroically trying to storm the front, tried on the right, tried on the left, mostly from the direction of Popasna. Got some butts handled to them, and they could not get to the road. There's even a scary rumor that they put a blog post on the road, the whole 50 people, and that we have heroically destroyed it, but until I see the proof, I'm not going to comment on that. I know for sure they are not controlling the road. They're trying to control it with some heavy group armament that infantry has, like mines and stuff. But that kind of hurts us because we cannot send the trucks. They cannot happily be driving around delivering cargo. It's way more risky now. But they did also capture a town of Liman, a bit to the north. So they actually did a pretty decent operation to capture that, which shows that some of them have grown and started learning how to do things. Some of them learned how to advance and how to do things, others did not, and they learned how to hide well. They also tried to get to Severodonetsk, tried to crawl on the southeast side along the river, and then try to go up the river, up north. And also tried from the northeast and northwest. Also got kicked out, but they're still using artillery pretty heavily in the area. Near Izum, Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, they regrouped and tried to push again. So the story is that between the northern and the southern positions of Russian troops is about 30 miles wide. So that whole gap is being shot through with artillery, if they want to, which is not a happy piece of news for us, but we're holding fine, and we're actually even counterattacking them in different locations. So for now, our pocket, the way I would call it, is holding. We are repelling their attacks, but there is still some danger that they may close it. We got more artillery support and we are using it on them effectively, but they're being pretty stubborn there and they continue their attempts to attack. They mostly have private military. They got Russian Marines and some troops from LNR and DNR, the most battle ready, and also some of the Russian reservists, semi-mechanized cohorts, which are not that effective as the usual troops, but they represent some of the force. We also had similar movements up north near Kharkov. They shot right in the middle of the city. We had 7 killed, 17 wounded, including a 9-year-old child who was being taken in the ICU in one of the hospitals. They did not get to the city, but they used artillery and they shelled it. To the north of Avdiivka they tried to advance without any success. Pologi and Orekhova in Zaporozhye, they also did not succeed much. They threw those T-62 tanks there without any armor. They're bold as Putin's head, but they're still somewhat of a force because it's a tank. But these tanks are older than us. And Kherson, they threw about 2,000 troops to the right bank, trying to create some local advantage. So one can understand the general intent of Russian command: borders of Kherson, borders of Lugansk, and maybe eventually Donetsk, and maybe half of the Zaporozhye region. That's what Putin's law about speeding access to Russian citizenship also intends to do for Ukrainians who want to join Russia, and that's kind of sums up what Putin wants to do. I also listened to Medvedev's upsets on the TV. They're very upset with our position that we don't want to negotiate with them, and they're using the same modus operandi to affect Ukraine, to influence Ukraine through the West as well. These are, those two fingers that are shoving into the side of the West, trying to control them and bend them to their will. So question number one is refugees from Africa. Africa depends upon Ukraine food to a noticeable extent, and they're playing the same card of refugees from Africa that may go to Europe again, and same crisis that they had in 2015 and inspired millions of refugees, and they want France and Spain and Italy and Germany do something. And the second, they understand the threat, maybe after our shows. Do you know that Wall Street Journal cited some of us today? They're also citing the statement made by Lavrov, who gave a program interview to El Arabic, Russia Today, demanding the rescinding of sanctions. Yes, they offered the following: you remove your sanctions and we'll let Ukrainian ports open to deliver food, and we will not let the food crisis to happen in Europe, otherwise, it will happen. That'll be critical. And second was that supply of weapons that can hit Russian territory from Ukraine is unacceptable and will lead to escalation of the conflict. So West is looking to satisfy Zelensky with weapons that can hit Russia from Ukraine territory. So they're creating a proxy war with Russian Federation, using hands and brains of Slavic nationalities. But there are some people in the West who understand how deadly that will be. They are seriously afraid of Ukraine getting reactive artillery systems that reach from 80 to 200 plus kilometers, which will change the rules of this engagement. And let me remind the book from military training. You can stop the advancement of the enemy stronger than you if you reach the groupings of their troops and if you can hit their logistics points deeper inside, removed from the front, where you can actually hit them hardest. But in the meantime, that's what we've been doing initially at the war, but then they strengthened their anti-aircraft systems, and it's getting much harder for us to get behind the enemy lines to destroy those logistics and groups. Are we talking about that in Russian territory? No. We're talking about Ukraine territory. So what would be the way for us to do it on the Russian Federation side? We're not even talking about that, because right now we just want to make sure we want to get to Ukrainian territory, and we lost our capacity to hit remote corners of Ukraine where they still aggregate and stage their equipment and troops. And we need to recover that capability to reach deeper into the front, beyond the enemy lines. Then their tempo will slow down dramatically and they'll start losing a lot of equipment and troops. And then you basically can forget about capturing Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, and Zaporozhye. We lost this capability a few days ago, and the West still did not replenish it for us, and they're still thinking if reactive artillery system may be used against Russian Federation. Now look, European press I was reading, they published, I think it's a significant piece of news, that there is an unpublished agreement between NATO countries that agreed about supplying heavy armaments to Ukraine, about slowing or pausing that supply to Ukraine, because that can cause anger in Moscow and cause certain decisions that may be more damaging, since Moscow will take Europe as an enemy in this case. Basically, they were telling that Germany is not supplying anything to Ukraine because of that danger. You know what? I would suggest us do one show completely in expletives in this regard. But today I'll try to hold myself. It's okay, we can maybe do part number 2. Let me pick the right words and I'll try to stay somewhat diplomatic. The West is going through the most serious exam right now about their adequacy. And right now they're failing it. Because if they would be doing it correct, if they were picking the correct answer, because, oh, horror, Ukraine did not fall, oh, shit, we need to supply Ukraine with weapons, and then the third article would be, despite the Russian upset, we still need to find those steel balls and somehow support Ukraine. And we'll see if they will pass this exam or fail it. Because Russia is still pressing that factor of refugees and other escalation things that they're throwing everything in the sink at Europe and allies. And we know there is a slowdown because America has about 2,000 of those armaments. They could have easily transferred to us, but they're not yet. So we're waiting. Let's see if states will be scared with the threats of unacceptable escalation from Russia, or they will find some power in themselves and deliver those armaments to Ukraine, because they do have an example of one but very proud country of Czech Republic. They gave us exactly that system, which shoots rather far. And in some characteristics, it does match American systems. They're pretty good, and Czech Republic is still there. It's not being destroyed by nukes, and Russia is not really cursing them for their deliverables. So, comrades in Pentagon and Washington, I would love to fight for your hearts and minds. Czech Republic did survive the unacceptable escalation. Nothing happened. What are you afraid? The United States with a nuclear umbrella and being stronger than Russian army in about 1,500 times. But anyway, since we have lost this capability to a significant degree to reach into the back of Russian troops, the pressure on the front will be increasing, and our capability to deal with that pressure will be weak, will be pretty bad for us. We're being shot by long-range artillery on the front side, and there's nothing we can use against the enemy except for bravery of Ukraine soldiers. And of course, you can write that subject for a long time, but since it's a modern war, you cannot really go too far on that. We even go and counterattack. You know, our soldiers are awesome, and we also have artillery that is doing surgical strikes on their equipment, and very successfully in Zaporozhye and Kherson regions. But overall, the story goes for now in a way that Russian tempo in dealing damage to us exceeds our capability of dealing damage to them. So here's the question to the West. Do you want us to win, or do you want us to lose? Those guys who are from Wall Street Journal who are watching us, what's up? Do you still need Ukraine, or you don't need Ukraine anymore? It's probably not Wall Street Journal who decides that. Of course not, but they can deliver their message. This is an interesting story, and I am curious to see if the West will pass this exam, if they'll have enough bravery to maintain the will to win, despite the factors which critically affect their position. I know for sure that Baltic countries and Poland and hopefully Britain will not give up on us, and I think United States will not give up on us either to some degree, but reactive artillery system not being supplied is really doesn't pay Biden in an administration in a good way. Let's see, on the 15th there'll be another meeting in Ramstein, and according to what management of Ukraine, leadership of Ukraine is publishing, we are going to bring that reactive systems question to that meeting. I don't even understand why do you hold these meetings in Ramstein if at least there is no any expedition to armament delivery. They're giving other armaments. Yeah, but we need the most important ones, right? This is not the first time that we're observing in a historic perspective, so to say, very complicated position of the West, to use the polite words, and attempts of Russian Federation to exploit the weaknesses of the West. And here we need to put the measurement system properly. The biggest problem of the West is not the Russian pressure. It's the West doesn't know what they need to do, what they have to do. They don't realize that this war is not going to leave the world as it was before it, but they're not ready to change it, to change their perspective on it. They need to somehow use the Munchausen maneuver and pull themselves off by their own hair or the straps of the boots, and they're hoping that maybe after everything subsides they'll come back to the status quo. No, you won't. Now that we've sent some praise to Russian army that started to learn and is doing somewhat better in some parts, and they got some successes on tactical level that can grow into operative success. But even there, it's more complex than that. They are putting more pressure on Bakhmut, but they're getting their ass kicked down south in Zaporozhye, in Kherson. And with all the seriousness of situation in Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, it's also too much of a overestimating of their success there. So they have somewhat of a success in the length of 100 miles of the front, but it's an 1,100-mile front, and the other 1,000 is very stable. We're holding them there. So we should not be really tearing our hairs out over that. And Russian advancement is not as scary as the position of the West is very peculiar, but we'll have to deal with that. Another two very interesting factors that show us some perspectives, especially regarding the Russian positions. Also, by the way, the pilot who was second to that Russian general that we shot down, he was not a Russian pilot. He was a commercial pilot. He was ex-military pilot from Belarus, but fighting for the Russian army on the Russian equipment. So that's interesting. And in Russian Senate, they have another law that they passed. They're again reinforcing the position that if you join Ukraine, this is treason. So that's hello to the Freedom of Russia Legion. They noticed. Also, they're punishing from 10 to 20 years everybody who is opposing the interests of Russian Federation within Russia or outside of Russia. And also secret support and secret work with the foreign entities that are attacking Russian interests. You can get, which used to be treason, now you can get 8 years in prison and up to $1 million rubles fine. Oh, you know how they can easily do that. They basically assemble some phony panel with of experts who will state this is indeed that and that conforms to the law, and the person should go and be repressed. But the whole system, just that they are taking these laws and making them and signing them, means that they do feel that pressure from Legion of Russia, from people opposing their movement, and they evaluate that outlook from these factors as very rather dangerous. And that guy who we shot down, again, going back to the pilots, yeah, we found some of his ex-pilots confirming that it was him and being upset that such a good guy who died fighting that. All right, let's take a look at Belarus. There are some rumors that he is trying to create a command for his troops on the border with Ukraine. Do you think Lukashenko is being pressed? Do you think Putin raped him to start this operation on Ukraine territory? He said, we cannot neglect the danger that emanates from Ukraine, so we need to study the experience of Russian Federation. They even sent a message to us that tonight Lukashenko will show us where at 4 in the morning many Belarus troops will cross the border and will start attacking Kiev and will die immediately in a very gruesome death. So they sent us some panic pictures and texts, but it was literally just the information warfare. But with, people being affected with 3 months of war, some of them still thought it was real. Still, we do not see any storm groups being formed in Belarus. That would be battle ready to attack Ukraine, so we should not be afraid of anything from that. But in general, as our president said, Kiev essentially is in danger at all times, because you can get to Kiev in about 2 days from Russia or a day from Belarus.
Если от российской можно пройти за сутки и так далее, то в отношении белорусской точно можно пройти.
Thing is, if they can cross and get to Kiev in a day or two, from Ukraine, you can definitely reach Minsk in a day. So that's not a good threat from Belarus in your direction. Yeah, I think he's just wiggling and trying to weasel his way out from Putin's pressure, that he pretends he's doing action, but not really in a hurry. Now we got another interview, another that I want to mention. Shamanov, he's used to be a hero of the Second Chechen War, commander of the tank detachment. He's now a second face in Russian lawmaking Congress. He looks like Lebed, another general, and Lebed had a better humor. This guy just looks sort of like him, and he says that denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine can take 5 to 10 years. That is a warning to all of the people in the West that may think that Minsk III may save the situation. Russia is not going to stop. Russia is actually, he did spill about 5 to 10 years war. Remember, I did talk about a possibility of a war till 2035. So that's what they're projecting. And Shamanov is projecting that there'll be a lengthy war here in Ukraine. They're planning to play the West that, hey, we just took a little bit here, a little bit there, we're ready to sign peace. Do you seriously want to have a nuclear war with us or food crisis in Europe? And then get a little more power, maybe another 5 years, and grab a piece of Ukraine? And that continue that for 5 or 10 years, and we cannot afford that. We need to rebuild ourselves and make a country that can withstand the offense of Russian Federation single-handedly, of course with the help of allies, but we need to build a country that can counter Russian aggression. Otherwise they'll finish Ukraine in 5 or 10 years. We have not an option to afford that. Alright, let me be Mark Feygin a little bit. We have about 400,000 watching us. Unusual timing. Yesterday was 8 p.m., today is 9 p.m. But people are adapting, and we have over 400,000 here. Please share the links. Don't forget to click like, that's important. If you are watching that in English, please subscribe to the privateer station. And please click that like button. That's important because that's the only way this video ad will be shown to somebody else on YouTube to see that. We're also on Rumble. And subscribe to Olexiy channel as well. Hey, let me be Mark Feygin too. I need to do a surgery for your nose so it looks bigger. Guys, please leave a like. Every one like equals to 10 more shows on YouTube. So one of you can show it to 10 more people. Super important. So, as a public service announcement, we'll try to stick with 9 p.m. So if you want to watch us live, please join at that time. That is a pretty cool energy when two people are talking to 400,000 and you guys are partaking in discussion, asking questions. Otherwise, watch it on other sources, on Mark's channel or my channel. We usually put notes there if things change, because I'm sorry I got more responsibilities and it'll be a floating time for now. I'll try to hang on to 9 p.m. Kiev time, but watch for the announcements.
Ну и, как
And
говорится, сделайте НРС пропагандистом и плешивым.
please share, leave a like, leave a comment, because that does hurt
Вот смотри,
that freak in Kremlin.
в той ситуации, которая
In the
есть,
situation
да,
that we have,
на твой взгляд, все-таки возвращаясь к
coming back,
вопросу, как может извиваться военная кампания по части того, что российская территория,
to
конечно, военные части, там, не знаю, взлетные полосы,
the options to
техника,
maneuver for military campaign,
могут в случае, конечно, получения средств для этой ведения боевых действий,
because
могут
they do claim that Ukraine, if you guys do get this long-range reactive artillery systems, you can possibly reach Russian supply lines and airfields adjacent to the border with Ukraine, that they're getting a bit relaxed, that they're taking Severodonetsk soon, and Ukraine will not have balls to attack Russian Federation. And I think we need to either calm them down or stir them a bit more. So if the question becomes really hard to be or not to be for Ukraine, could at least the border territory with Ukraine become the subject of Ukraine fire? Mark, you know, I'll answer this way. The season of a cigarette butt dropped in the wrong place is doesn't have to stop. It's independent of the time of the year. So many things may be happening. And that's a different aspect here. We can be upset with the West not giving us the long-range weaponry. We still have a good breakthrough. We got anti-ship Harpoon missiles. Representative of Pentagon has stated that Ukrainian military and navy are already being trained on these missiles. And if we can't get them in Belgorod region, we can get them in Black Sea. And every ship sunk there is important. Every noticeable ship, every flagship is roughly one tank division equivalent, so that is important. I don't know how many we get, and even if we get 10 and 8 of them hit targets, that'll be super fantastic. A great story. So, if we start talking seriously, the West is not really afraid to supply critical armaments. I think they do not understand the full meaning of certain niches of fight that we have here, so we'll try to explain it to them, both here in this show and the official level. Not why we want stuff in general, but why exactly do we need this system or that system. So they're giving harpoons because they protect them from possible famine in Africa, and that's basically food security in African continent and additional security from uncontrolled migration after starving countries. So von der Leyen did say that we need to overwhelm the Russian aggression with power. And also, Minister of Defense of Britain did state today that we're not going to lift sanctions because you opened Ukraine ports, and that anti-ship missile is a very strong argument. And to help our negotiating position in this case with Russia, we might want to sink a couple of military ships. And this is a big factor. It is not smaller than we would have gotten a similar system on land, reactive artillery systems. So if you're giving us reactive systems on sea, why don't you give us these systems on land? And you know what I think? I think this question will be solved. Tell me, please, these harpoons, can you hit a Crimean bridge with that? Now, shooting the bridge is not easy. The only way to hit the bridge well is with Air Force and air bombs. The bridge in Crimea is a capital construct with a strategically built design. It is always covered by 2 brigades of anti-aircraft systems. They have ships, they have anti-aircraft stuff, and to hit it with a missile, it's hitting with a bullet sheet of paper about 300 yards away that is standing sideways to you. And you need to do it in a way that it cuts through it. So it is not a simple story. You can scream or wish to get this bridge destroyed. If it was so easy, we would have destroyed it a long time ago. Something is coming here. What, Zelensky is contacting you? Not Zelensky, but close to that. Okay, also good. On the 6th set of sanctions, it is remarkably slow. We know that the main point there is embargo, and the culprit is mostly Hungary, and probably not only Hungary. What do you think is the perspective here? Maybe you overheard something from Yermak on his commission. So Ursula said they'll need several weeks. Other guys said they'll accept it by the 31st. I think it's a tactical pause they're discussing. Italians also offer us some weapons, but they also offer us the peace plan. So Lavrov did reject the peace plan. At the same time, Italians, Lavrov said it's an unacceptable plan, and Italians, by the way, were also giving us weapons together with the plan. By the way, good howitzers. Yes, so sanctions. Arestovych is being sad about apocalypse. It is just a story. After a dark line, there'll be a much darker, white line. And you just need to not give up and continue fighting. That's what we're doing. We still know that we will win this war, but there are different waves, different periods of war. Some of them are gray, some are dark, some are white. So if it is dark now, there'll be a brighter one after. And about the personal sanctions, that initiative about 6,000 list from Navalny, they are pushing it. It is a slow story, but I think it will reach its goal. I think Germans stated yesterday, how can we arrest the actives of a family? It is against European law, but they did mention that we can freeze it and then use it to help Ukraine. So they're kind of stating both ways. Yeah, they're saying that the legal mechanism is not too transparent, so they likely will need to see people who can make a strong-willed decision here. I have an interesting example about one. So we got Italian equipment that shoots mines. So can we get a paper? Somebody from the military is contacting me and saying, can we get a paper from Italians? What paper? That we can use this equipment and it's safe to use? And I listened to that, my jaw dropped, and I said, "Can I speak to you as a colonel does? Can you dumb fucks be more initiative, full of initiative during war when our allies supplied you weapons that can hit the enemy? Come to me, I'll write you that paper related to immediate emergency and the need to defend motherland in a hard historic moment. I, advisor to the office of the president, order you to use these mortars on the front. Do you want me to put a stamp on that? What other permission do you need?" They kind of got ashamed, and I heard that they're heroically using it now, but this was a ridiculous fragment the other day. They just wanted, to hear that this equipment was used. So, we're being upset with Europe, but we also have funny characters here. Some colonels and lieutenant colonels cannot make a decision. They're people. So for 2 days I was putting pressure on the West, but we need to acknowledge that it is not easy to be a historic leader, especially in tough times. Not everybody can, like me, sign a paper, put a stamp, and say, "Go do it." I used to be the one back in the study days and in the army that if you cannot make a decision, let me make a decision. I'll put a stamp and I'll sign it. But you don't have the rank, or it's not your authority. I don't care. If you need somebody to sign it, I'll sign it. So at the same time, I'm also seeing people who have been troubled and tormented, but eventually they made the right decision. So I have a hope that the West will torment itself for a bit, but eventually will provide these weapons to us. And then, then Arestovych will be on again. There'll be 2 to 3 weeks left to fight. Then the tempo of their advancement will slow. Then we'll have more videos with their soldiers retreating or surrendering. So I hope within a month we might change that situation. This, as you understand, is not the end of war. It is a lengthy story. So even in this phase, you may want to adjust yourself for a slow progress, but everything will be finished with the victory of Ukraine and allies. That's a good ending for day 92, 43 minutes and a few seconds. Tomorrow at the same time, 430,000 people watching us. Our friends, we're waiting you again. Come. There'll be maps and there'll be news. Yes. Stock, lock and barrel. There'll be everything. Waiting for you tomorrow. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to Privateer Station.
Подписывайтесь на канал Feygin Live и на канал Алексея Арестовича по ссылке его имя и к видео. Уже 92 дня.
Yeah. 92 days.
Мы сидели в офисе президента.
Так.
There was a moment when I was sitting in the office of the president, not where I'm now, but in a scary bunker. And I was sitting in that bunker and holding these toothpicks in my hand when I was thinking that there may be a big nuclear missile falling on us. So, by the way, did the president see your toothpicks? Oh, I can bring them and make sure he sees them. Do you know that there was a stamp scandal on the ISS when astronauts went and took some stamps with them? But yeah, some of them were kicked out of NASA, others were not allowed to fly. It was a scandal. But they actually flew, or they tried to fly. These ones are fair toothpicks. They sort of flew in the historic period. I've been de-stressing holding them daily, You know, John Wood, the guy who was hanging those Nuremberg criminals, he was selling those ropes for another 50 years after that. So, yeah, that's a good example. I like it. So this toothpick set may actually, we probably will be selling them till we retire. Just like there are people who partake in every historic event, and usually the group of 7 grows to several thousand participants. So also at the end of this week, maybe, or early next week, we'll tell you who will be the next contact, who'll get some of our support, financial support, after the grievances suffered with this war. So it's complicated, but we'll solve it. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Everybody, we'll be live again. Goodbye.
Счастливо.